From the PEP Radio Newsroom, these are the stories we are covering at this hour. The Paramount comics, Colbert and Stewart, are sharp critics of 60 Minutes deal with Trump. This isn't a joke. They've made that clear. CBS's Late Show with host Stephen Colbert condemned parent company Paramount Global's settlement of Trump's lawsuit over the editing of a 60 Minutes interview with Democratic presidential candidate Kamala Harris last fall, calling it a big fat bribe. Colbert followed The Daily Show host Jon Stewart's attack on the deal 1 week earlier. Stewart works for Comedy Central, also owned by Paramount, making the two comics the most visible internal critics of the $16 million settlement. Colbert's bribe comment referenced the pending sale of Paramount to Skydance Media, which needs Trump administration approval. Critics suggested the settlement was primarily to clear a hurdle to the sale. I don't know if anything will repair my trust in this company, Colbert said in his monologue Monday. But just taking a stab at it, I'd say $16 million would help. The ratings leader in late night broadcast television is a relentless Trump critic. The antipathy is mutual. Trump called Colbert a complete and total loser in a Truth Social post last fall, suggesting CBS was wasting its money on him. He is very boring, Trump wrote. Don't worry, Donald. The last laugh will be at your expense when the Epstein files are ultimately released and your name is on the front cover of the entire document. Meanwhile, immigration agency flexes authority to sharply expand detention without bond hearing. That's right. The U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement has moved to detain far more people than before by tapping a legal authority to jail anyone who entered the country illegally without allowing them a bond hearing. Todd Lyons, ICE's acting director, wrote employees on July 8th to say the agency was revisiting its extraordinarily broad and equally complex authority to detain people, and effective immediately, people would be ineligible for a bond hearing before an immigration judge. Instead, they cannot be released unless the Homeland Security Department makes an exception. The directive signals wider use of a 1996 law to detain people who had previously been allowed to remain free while their cases wind through immigration court. Asked Tuesday to comment on the memo, DHS spokesperson Tricia McLaughlin said, "The Biden administration dangerously unleashed millions of unvetted illegal aliens into the country, and they used many loopholes to do so." She added that Trump and DHS Secretary Kristi Noem are now enforcing this law as it was actually written to keep America safe. The Secretary of Dog Executions refused to answer interviewers' questions. And finally, a man convicted of fatally shooting two people outside of a Florida bar in 1993 as part of an attempted revenge killing was executed Tuesday evening, the 26th person put to death in the United States this year. Michael Bernard Bell, age 54, was pronounced dead at 6:25 p.m. after receiving a lethal injection at Florida State Prison near Stark, said Brian Griffin, not to be confused with Peter Griffin's dog. Sorry, Kristi Noem, a spokesperson for Governor Ron DeSantis. Bell was convicted in 1995 and sentenced to death for the murders of Jimmy West and Tameka Smith. When the team warden asked Bell if he had any final words, he responded, "Thank you for not letting me spend the rest of my life in prison." I would add to that, especially in Florida. Strapped to a gurney, Bell was alert and looking around the death chamber as the drugs began to flow into his outstretched left arm. After about 2 minutes, he closed his eyes and stopped moving. His breathing became more labored, and that only lasted about a minute and then slowed. At 6:15 p.m., the team warden checked Bell's eyes and shouted his name, but there was no response. The color began to drain from Bell's face. About 6:20 p.m., a medical worker entered the chamber at 6:24 p.m. and declared Bell dead a minute later. With Bell's death, the number of executions in the U.S. surpassed last year's total, with more than 5 months left on the calendar. The number of executions has largely trended downward nationally this century, after peaking with 98 in 1999. From 1995 to 2006, there was an average of about 67 executions per year. John Bloom, the director of the Cornell Death Penalty Project, says the uptick in executions doesn't appear to be linked to a change in public support for the death penalty or an increase in the rate of death sentences, but is rather the function of the discretion of state governors. A number of these people being executed are people that have been in the system for a long time. They've been on death row for a long time, Bloom said, adding that there are aggressive executives and attorneys general who want to execute these people. Most of those aggressive executives and attorneys general are Republicans. Tell us again how they are the pro-life party? That's the news for this hour. If you are watching our news videos on YouTube, drop a comment in this newscast and subscribe to our channel. Thanks. Up next, we have the Meadville area weather forecast here on PEP Radio.